What's good, fellas? My name's Andy, and we all know about the All-Star Game, and we've watched many All-Star Games in our lives. The NBA All-Star Weekend in general is one of the most popular and illustrious events for the sport of basketball. Every single year, a lot of young players and even older players get the chance to show off their skills under the brightest lights. Besides the NBA Finals or the NBA Draft, the NBA All-Star Weekend is the NBA's most watched program during the regular season. However, back in 2007, the NBA wanted to experiment a little bit. For the first time in history, they held the All-Star Weekend in a city that did not have an NBA team, Las Vegas. A city that's known for its hotels and resorts, fancy casinos, and wild nightlife. It's a very popular tourist spot as well. Vegas attracts people from all over the world, from all different cultures, and the 2007 All-Star Weekend was highly anticipated to be amazing. And it definitely was really exciting. Gerald Green showed an amazing display of dunks. Jason Kapono won the three-point contest with a score of 24, which at the time tied for the highest score in the contest's history. Dwayne Wade won the skills challenge for the second year in a row, and Kobe Bryant led the West to a 21-point victory and claimed the All-Star Game MVP. And let's not forget, Charles Barkley raced against Dick Bavetta and kissed him on the lips. Overall, it was a great weekend for all of the events. But unfortunately, what made this weekend so controversial was what happened off the court. Vegas is already pretty rowdy on a normal weekend, but because the NBA All-Star Weekend was in the city, there were also a ton of more celebrities and parties going on. And it got a little crazy, to say the least. According to a report, between 12 p.m. on Thursday and early Monday morning, 362 people were booked into the Clark County Detention Center, which was a prison. Over 400 people total were arrested. Apparently, there were some people who even got killed. There was a story that was reported where someone saw a body fall off from the top of a casino and slammed onto the ground. A ton of people were breaking the law, and the arrests ranged from things like criminal trespassing to assault and robbery to disorderly conduct. There were people taking cabs, and then upon arriving at their destination, they would just run away to avoid paying the money to the cab drivers. The entire event outside of the arena was very uncomfortable for the players too. According to former player Rafer Alston, who was attending the event, he said, "I was very uncomfortable. I didn't leave my hotel until I was headed to an event. I didn't even leave to go to eat. I ate in my hotel. It was the overall atmosphere. The whole feeling didn't feel safe." Then when the weekend cleared, you started to see unbelievable numbers of arrests and things that went on. Tracy McGrady, after finding out that the next All-Star Game would be hosted in New Orleans, was deeply concerned about the security there, especially after all the stuff that happened in Vegas. According to an article written by Joe Showman, a journalist who was living in Las Vegas, he said that one of the main causes of all this violence during the weekend was because Vegas was flooded with a crowd that merged the culture of hip-hop with a 4-mile stretch of casinos that, until last weekend, almost certainly had never seen so many blacks. And because Vegas was not very far from Los Angeles, you had a lot of LA guys coming in during the weekend festivities. And they caused some conflicts with the guys in the local Vegas area. Around this time, the discussions of the violence centered around racism. Even former Commissioner David Stern said, "Of course, race plays a part in the perceptions. Do you doubt that there were more African Americans in Las Vegas last week than at any time in its history, and some people felt threatened by that simply as a matter of culture?" Reporter Jason Whitlock also stated that the whole event felt very uncomfortable because of racial perceptions. Because, quote, "there were just way too many people who looked like legitimate thugs or were legitimate thugs." Basically, many people who lived in Vegas or the Vegas area who were visiting there were not used to seeing hip-hop culture run rampant everywhere. And they connected those crimes and their behavior to their race, as most of them were African Americans. The worst incident happened with NFL player Adam "Pac-Man" Jones. One of the guys who was with him had a gun and opened fire outside of Mink's Gentlemen's Club and Lounge, striking a bouncer named Tommy Urbanski and paralyzing him from the waist down. Yikes, that was the worst incident involving a professional athlete, and it wasn't even an NBA player. As punishment, Pac-Man Jones would get a 12-month suspended sentence, complete 200 hours of community service, and get some anger management counseling. So yeah, as you can guess, the violence, the crimes, the racism in Vegas were the main headlines during that time, and they overshadowed an otherwise great weekend for NBA basketball. Another thing I should mention is that originally, Las Vegas hosted the All-Star Game with hopes that in the future, perhaps the city could get an NBA team. I know nowadays, many fans wonder why the NBA has not yet expanded to Las Vegas. It seems like the prime destination for a team. There's a ton of people, a ton of basketball fans, and of course, the city has the money to build a new arena. Every summer, Las Vegas hosts the NBA Summer League too, so the basketball influence in the area is really high. According to the former mayor of Las Vegas, Oscar Goldman, he said, "The All-Star Game, as far as I was concerned, was a vehicle to get the commissioner to come to Las Vegas and talk with me. Now we're in a position to see an NBA franchise." It was clear that back then the city did want an NBA team, but over a decade later, Vegas still does not have one, and this weekend in 2007 had a lot to do with it. Nowadays, there are still a lot of fans who talk about maybe Las Vegas could get an NBA team, but the reality is they most likely won't, or at least not in the near future. Barely anyone remembers or talks about this disaster of a weekend anymore, and some have no idea at all that this stuff even happened. But I guess you know the saying, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Thank you everyone so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed that video, and I'll see you next time. Peace.